In the beginning, love feels easy. You talk for hours, laugh effortlessly, and can't wait to see each other again. There's energy, excitement, and connection. But then life begins to happen. Careers grow demanding, responsibilities pile up, sleep gets shorter, and time together gets pushed to the margins. You still care about each other deeply, but something feels off. The spark fades, the laughter quiets, and intimacy, both emotional and physical, starts to disappear. Have you ever wondered why? Why do stress and work seem to steal the closeness you once had? It's not that love goes away, it's that stress changes how love is expressed, how it's received, and how it's felt. Stress, in its simplest form, is your body's way of responding to pressure. But emotionally, it does much more than that. It drains energy, dulls empathy, and creates distance where connection once lived. When you're under constant stress, your body is in fight or flight mode. You're wired to survive, not to connect. And that state of survival, when stretched over weeks, months, or even years, can slowly kill intimacy. Imagine this. You come home after a long day. Your mind is still at work, your phone buzzing with notifications, your thoughts spinning through tomorrow's deadlines. You sit next to your partner, but your attention is miles away. You're together physically, but emotionally, you're elsewhere. The conversation feels forced. Affection feels like effort. And slowly, you both begin to feel unseen. It's not because you don't love each other, it's because stress has hijacked your focus. The truth is, intimacy and stress can't coexist easily. Intimacy thrives on relaxation, presence, and openness. Stress, on the other hand, thrives on tension, urgency, and distraction. One opens your heart, the other closes it. When you're stressed, your nervous system is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. It tells your body to conserve energy, to stay alert, to defend. It's a powerful biological mechanism, but it's terrible for connection. Because in that state, even small gestures from your partner, like a question, a touch, or a comment, can feel overwhelming. Instead of seeing them as a partner, you start seeing them as another demand on your already depleted system. This is one of the hidden tragedies of modern relationships. We are busier than ever. We work longer hours, respond to more messages, and rarely disconnect. We sleep with our phones by our side, check emails before breakfast, and carry the weight of work stress into our homes. Our partners, our families, they become the silent witnesses to our exhaustion. We say, "I'm just tired," but what we really mean is, "I don't have the emotional space to connect right now." And over time, that repeated pattern of coming home empty erodes the emotional foundation of a relationship. For many couples, this shift happens slowly, almost invisibly. At first, it's just a few missed date nights. Then, it's conversations that stay on the surface. Then, it's intimacy that becomes rare or mechanical. One or both partners start to feel neglected, not unloved exactly, but unseen, unprioritized. That's the subtle danger of chronic stress. It convinces you that intimacy is optional, something you can get back to later. But later rarely comes. Think about how stress affects your body. Your muscles tense up, your heart rate rises, your breathing shortens. Your body is literally preparing for battle. In that state, tenderness feels unsafe, vulnerability feels risky. So you close off emotionally, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. And when both partners do that, when both are guarding their energy instead of sharing it, intimacy dies a quiet death. Work, too, plays a massive role in this. Our culture glorifies productivity. We wear busyness like a badge of honor. We convince ourselves that working harder today will create more freedom tomorrow. But tomorrow rarely slows down. It only brings new goals, new projects, new pressures. In that endless pursuit, love often becomes collateral damage. We end up giving our best energy to work and leaving only the leftovers for our relationships. We say we're doing it for the family, but the family often pays the price in loneliness. Let's look deeper at how work stress affects emotional intimacy. When one or both partners are overworked, communication becomes transactional. Conversations revolve around logistics, schedules, bills, chores, instead of connection. The emotional tone of the relationship shifts from curiosity to efficiency. You start to treat each other like coworkers managing a shared project instead of lovers building a shared life. And while efficiency keeps the household running, it starves the relationship of emotional warmth. For physical intimacy, the effects can be even more pronounced. Chronic stress suppresses desire. Cortisol disrupts the hormonal balance that fuels attraction and bonding. It also interferes with oxytocin, the hormone of trust, love, and closeness. So even when you want to feel connected, your body may not cooperate. You might feel too tired, too anxious, or too distracted to engage. Touch becomes less frequent, affection feels forced, and the natural rhythm of closeness fades away. And here's where things get tricky. When physical intimacy fades, emotional intimacy often follows. Touch is one of the most powerful forms of reassurance we have. It says, "I'm here, you matter." When that disappears, partners can start to misinterpret distance as rejection. One feels unwanted, the other feels pressured. That misunderstanding deepens the divide, creating a cycle of emotional withdrawal. Soon, stress is no longer just external, it's living inside the relationship. But there's another layer too. When we're stressed, our perception of our partner changes. The same habits that once felt endearing might start to feel irritating. You become less patient, less generous, less forgiving. You interpret their actions through the lens of exhaustion. A harmless comment might suddenly feel like criticism. A small request might feel like a demand. In that way, stress distorts reality. It makes love feel heavier than it actually is. So, how do we fight back? How do we protect intimacy when the world around us feels relentless? It begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. When you start recognizing how stress affects your emotions, your patience, and your presence, you can take steps to counter it. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through intentional slowing down. Even 5 minutes of undistracted connection can make a difference. Sitting together without phones, holding hands, breathing, looking into each other's eyes, it sounds simple, but it reactivates the nervous system's calm state. It reminds your body, "I'm safe, I'm loved." Small rituals help too. Greeting each other warmly when you come home, saying goodnight with intention, sharing a meal without screens. These moments are like anchors in the storm. They ground you when life feels chaotic. Over time, they rebuild the sense of safety that stress erodes. Communication also plays a critical role. Many couples wait until things are falling apart to talk about how stress is affecting them. But honest, early conversations can prevent distance from growing. Saying things like, "I'm feeling overwhelmed," "I don't want to disconnect from you," invites partnership instead of blame. It turns stress into something you face together, not something that pulls you apart. Another key is learning how each of you handles stress differently. Some people withdraw when stressed, others need to talk it out. Some want quiet, others want reassurance. If you can identify those patterns and respect them, you can prevent unnecessary conflict. It's not about fixing your partner's stress, it's about creating space for both of you to process it safely. And then there's the power of physical touch, not just sexual, but simple, consistent touch. Holding hands, hugging, sitting close. Touch lowers cortisol, increases oxytocin, and helps reset the body's stress response. It's the body's way of saying, "We're on the same side." The more you touch, the more your body remembers that love is safety, not another source of pressure. Of course, none of this happens automatically. It requires effort. You have to choose connection, especially when you're tired. You have to protect it, even when work feels all-consuming. Because if you don't, something else will always take its place. Emails, deadlines, errands, they'll expand to fill every gap unless you make room for love. Sometimes fighting back against stress means setting boundaries with work, saying no to the extra project, logging off at a certain hour, reclaiming your evenings as sacred time. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially in a culture that rewards constant availability, but your relationship deserves that protection. Because without emotional connection, even success starts to feel hollow. You might also need to change how you recharge. Many people think self-care is selfish, but it's actually a prerequisite for intimacy. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you take time to rest, exercise, or do something creative, you restore the emotional energy you need to give love freely. A well-rested, balanced person shows up in their relationship with patience, humor, and empathy. A burned-out person, no matter how loving they are, simply can't. There's a deeper truth here too. Intimacy doesn't survive in constant motion. It needs stillness. It needs quiet moments of reflection. Think of intimacy as a fire. It burns bright when tended, but fades when ignored. Stress and overwork are like cold wind. They can extinguish it if you don't shield it carefully. The shield is intention, the daily choice to slow down, to connect, to remember why you started this journey together. Even small gestures can reignite that warmth. A text that says, "I miss you." A surprise hug from behind. Making coffee for your partner before they wake up. These acts seem small, but they remind both of you that love still lives beneath the noise of daily life. They create micro moments of intimacy that accumulate over time. And sometimes it's not just about adding things, it's about removing what drains you, reducing unnecessary commitments, taking breaks from social media, creating screen-free zones in your home. Protecting your attention is one of the most powerful ways to protect your love. Because at its core, intimacy is about attention. It's about being fully present with another human being. When you give your partner your attention, even for a few minutes, you're saying, "You matter more than everything else right now." That presence, more than gifts, words, or grand gestures, is what keeps love alive in a busy world. So maybe the real fight against stress isn't about eliminating it completely. That's impossible. It's about balancing it. It's about building moments of calm and connection in between the chaos. It's about remembering that love isn't a luxury. It's the foundation that gives everything else meaning. If you're listening to this and thinking, "We've already lost that closeness," remember this: intimacy doesn't vanish, it goes dormant. It's waiting for space to breathe again. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't take huge changes to bring it back. It just takes awareness, effort, and the willingness to slow down. Because when you pause long enough to truly see your partner again, to listen, to touch, to be present, you start to remember why you fell in love in the first place. So, what about you? When was the last time you truly slowed down with your partner? When was the last time you looked at them, not as your co-parent, your roommate, your work partner, but as your person? When was the last time you turned off your phone and just held them quietly with no agenda? If it's been a while, maybe that's where you start. Because in the end, stress will always be there. Work will always demand your time. But love needs your attention. And when you give it that, when you choose connection over chaos, presence over pressure, that's when intimacy returns. That's when love starts to breathe again.